Hi, my name is Dr. Ray Pastor, and the following video is going to talk about rapid e-learning and when it's appropriate to do it and how we do it. So rapid e-learning. First of all, I want to talk about the tools. There are a number of tools being used out there. I'm in no way going through all of them, but I want to talk about some of the most popular e-learning tools out there, tools that, an instructional designer can use, because let's face it, instructional designers are not programmers. For the most part, some of them are, but for the most part, they're not. But they can be developers, and they do know how to use e-learning software. So we have Captivate, we have Articulate, we have HTML and HTML5, which are the web-based, and we have very simple PowerPoint. Those are just some of the main tools out there. There are a bunch of others I could go through and mention, but I'm not doing that. I'm just mentioning the main things being used. All right, the process. So how do you actually cut the instructional design process? That's the big thing. We think of this, we have this ADDIE, and we think of it, a lot of people think of it in this linear fashion, and we think, how can we cut this? This is huge. Let's cut this down and make it rapid. How do we make it rapid? Because these tools that I talked about, those are just done in development. That's how we make development faster so that we don't need to program. We use Captivate or Articulate because they're super fast for development. But that only saves us time in one area. So how do we cut the instructional design process? So the first thing I want to say is you cannot replace ADDIE. Second thing I'm going to say is you cannot replace ADDIE. There is no defined way to do ADDIE. ADDIE describes a process that can be modified and has to be modified for every project you've ever worked on. For every project you do work on, you need to modify it. It's going to be changed to meet the client's and project's needs. So there's no one way to do it. But there are thousands of ways to do it. We can do ADDIE many different ways. There are many ways to create shortcuts or to do this or to do that, but doing that stuff varies by project. What works on one project may definitely not work on another, and vice versa. What works on one may work on others. So there are many different ways to do ADDIE. So how do we actually, if we want to cut it and make it rapid, how and when is it appropriate to do that, and how do we do it? All right. So I'm going to go through and read this little paragraph that I've written here. So first of all, the one thing I want to say is you can only modify the design, development, and implementation stages of ADDIE. I guess technically you can modify the evaluation too, but you can't modify the analysis. Think about this way. 70% of projects fail to meet their desired objectives. 70% of projects fail to meet their desired objectives. If you don't do an analysis and know who your learners are, what do you think your chances of success are? Not very good. So if I get hired on a new project, I'm always doing an analysis. Always. You cannot not do it. Now, in order to avoid the analysis, there is a time when you don't have to do it. Let's say I've been working with a client for 3 years and they ask me to do another project for them. I may not need to do a full-blown analysis because I've already done it. They're a repeat client. I've already done analysis for them, so I don't need to redo work. So I've saved myself the whole analysis phase for that second or third or fourth project, whatever it is. So, okay, I haven't modified the analysis, but I don't need to do it. And maybe I don't need to do a full-blown analysis. Maybe I just need to know one part of it for this group because I've already done the analysis for their company. I know who their people are. I know their culture. I know all of that stuff, so I don't need to redo it. Okay. 2. Another time it's appropriate, or thing we need to consider. If you don't have constant access to the SMEs, to the people developing, if you need developers, graphic artists, or whoever, if you don't have access to them, or they're difficult to access, you can't do rapid development because your project is not going to be rapid. It's going to take forever. You have to have constant access to the people who are going to be developing, to the content experts like your SMEs. You have to have constant access to them so that you can actually do the project rapidly. If they're working with you and sitting down with you each day to go through the content to do a very quick task analysis, you're going to be able to start designing right away. All right. 3rd, project can be rolled out in sections. So for instance, I can roll out, let's say I'm working on this project and there are 15 modules. But I can do module 1, I can design it, develop it, and implement it while I'm working on module 2, 3, and 4. I can have project 1 already out there to the client. I can have it designed, they can approve it, implement it, and it's out there. So can roll out the project in sections. Obviously, if it's a small project, I don't need to worry about that. But a huge project that involves many modules, I've seen projects, I've seen PowerPoint decks, which they should never be like this, but I've seen 600-page PowerPoint decks just handed to a client. If you can just do one module, one part, and get that rolled out and move forward with just that one piece, that's another scenario we can use this. All right, 4. Another case that helps you cut. You might already have learning objects from other projects. So this is great if you're building for a large company. They have a SCORM LMS already set up. You have a bunch of SCOs, you have a bunch of pieces from other projects that have already been done, and you can piecemeal things together. Let's say maybe we can even take storyboards that we've done for them before and reuse their storyboards. Let's say we have graphics that have been done before. Even pieces of the instructional design process that we've done. So we can take the analysis, we can take some things from design and development and use them to develop quicker. Next thing, and this is probably the most limiting, something I don't like, but you hardly have any graphics, you hardly have any interactions, and you don't really implement a lot of instructional strategies. This is very bare bones. So sometimes when you're doing rapid design, one option is to do a very cut and dry training session. This is more of like the emergency training session, not when the client says, hey, I want this done fast. It's if you need it done fast because of some kind of federal law or something like that. This is bare bones. It's not going to be as effective, but it's bare bones. It'll get it done for now. So that's another way and reason, and scenario, something to think about, another way to cut the instructional design process. Otherwise, you got to have an analysis done, whether it's before or from another project, but you've got to have the analysis. Design can be cut in that I might not need to design, create scenarios. I might not need to use these instructional strategies. I might be able to use some bare bones, traditional, direct instruction. I might not have to design a game. I might just design, basic CBT. We can cut development down by reusing things, not developing graphics, not developing a lot of interactions, not requiring programming. Roll out things in sections, so implementation is not just this huge thing, it's sectional. And then evaluation, we always have to evaluate, but we need constant access to those evaluators who can constantly evaluate, and we can be redesigning, developing, and getting things out much faster by doing it piecemeal.